Welcome back. Welcome back to another installment of r/No Sleep Scary Stories. We have another one here from Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I'm yours. We read a story from that author a little while ago. I think me and Trothborn did. Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. The title: My brother can see auras. He told me I'm stained with evil. What do you want, big boy? Are you hiding? Oh, biggest of boys. The man shoved past me, and the sticky slime of his being clung to my arm. I swiped at it, tried to shake it off, but it was stubborn. It stuck, stained my skin. I had to get it off me. I hurried on, left hand still swiping intermittently over the spot on my right arm, where he touched me. His energy was on me. I could feel it, his bitterness, his resentment towards the world. It had an acrid, bitter scent that closed my nose. I rounded a corner and found an empty doorway in front of a closed shop. I leant against the wall and shut my eyes. I imagined a bright white light shining down from above into the top of my head. I imagined the light filled my body, hitting the contaminated spot at the beginning to burn the taint off. "Excuse me?" someone said. Shit. I opened my eyes, ritual disrupted. A woman stood before me, gesturing at the door next to me. I need to get in, she said. "It's closed." "I know, it's my shop, I'm opening it." "Oh, sorry." I walked off. I had to find a quiet spot to do the ritual. "Joey!" someone called. I turned out of habit and cursed. It was Zoe from work. "I thought I saw you a street down. Had to pretty much run after you. Why are you in such a hurry?" Zoe's a nice person. Chatty, cheerful, not a mean bone in her body. But I wasn't in the mood to chat. I needed to cleanse the stain from me. Just really needed to use the loo. Looking for one. You know any around here?" She giggled. "Oh shit, okay. There should be one in the cafe over there." "Do I have to buy stuff?" "I was gonna get a coffee anyway. I'll go with you. You go ahead." "You sure?" I asked, already headed towards where she pointed. "Yeah, go." I completed the entire routine in the loo. I didn't care if she thought I was taking too long. It could be number 2. She was there, sipping her coffee when I came out, all cleansed, basking in the relief of the glow about me. I felt a rush of affection when I saw her. "Thanks, Zoe, you're a lifesaver," she chortled. "Hardly. What are you up to anyway?" "Just shopping for the boss. His birthday's on Monday, you know that? Everyone gets him gifts, so I feel like we've got to." "Oh, me too. Someone told me gifts are kind of expected, which is weird in my opinion, but he's the boss. Want to shop together? I could pick your brain about what to get for him." Zoe was fairly new at our company. I nodded. She has very good vibes. Her energy was great. I didn't have to worry about being tainted by her. She ended up being more than helpful than I was. She might be newer, but she seemed to know things about everyone on the team. Their likes, dislikes, pets, partners, things like that. She definitely knew more about our boss than I did. It made my shopping a lot easier. We parted at the train station, and I was in a pretty good mood when I walked the short 10 minutes home. Until some asshole taking up the entire pathway walked straight into me, despite my attempts to edge to the side as much as I could. The guy's energy was different from the previous ones. It was full of obnoxious entitlement, a rather sad need to feel like a big man. It was no less gross than the previous one, though. I swiped at my shoulder and arm where it had hit. I could smell the stink of his energy, already picture the stain forming on my skin beneath my clothes. I ran to my apartment. I was fumbling with the lock when it unlocked from the inside and the door opened. "Ew," was my brother's greeting. "You smell of... and that aura, yikes." "I know, some asshole just outside." "They got you on the shoulder, didn't they? I can see it from here. It's bad. Some frothing gray mess of entitlement and tiny D syndrome, I know. There's a floral scent about you, a tinge of some pretty awesome vibes." "Met my colleague. That's probably her." I showered while imagining bright light washing away the bad vibes stuck on my skin. Once I felt clean, I got dressed and set up for dinner. "It's your turn to cook, dude," I complained half-heartedly. "Sorry," he said with no explanation. I sighed and microwaved our dinners. Lee had always been able to see vibes. I know. Woo-hoo, right? But it's true. He could always see when I had been touched. brushed by or near an asshole, or a particularly kind person. He even knew where I had been touched. It's been a problem for me for a long time. Not his sixth sense, but my own sensitivity to the energy of others. I saw someone for it when I was young. They told me it was a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder. Mental contamination obsessions, they told me. That my belief that others could mentally contaminate me with their energy, their essence, with an obsession. That my ritual of invoking a cleansing light in meditation was a compulsion. I wanted to believe they were right, that it was nothing but OCD. But my brother could always see the energy. When I told them that, they wanted to examine my brother. Said something about delusions, hallucinations. So I never went back. We've both gotten used to it. We don't know what's happening exactly, but it's all we've ever known since we were young. Our parents treated it like some quirk of ours, woo-woo talk, intended to cope by ignoring all topics of energies and auras. As we grew older, they grew more fearful of us. The way we knew things that we shouldn't have, through the energies and remnant stains we couldn't see. Anyway, they died when we turned 18 and 20. I sometimes wonder if they had engineered the accident to get away from us. Well, that's kind of terrible, to think that your parents killed themselves to get away from your madness. The rest of the weekend passed in a haze of mundane mucking about. When Monday came, I grabbed the gift and headed out. Almost immediately, I nearly collided with someone. He stopped, shifted to one side, and gestured with an exaggerated sweeping motion of his arm for me to go ahead. "Thank you," I said, smiling out of habit. But my smile curdled in a moment. A wave of dread rippled into my skin. I froze for a moment, then I made myself walk on. I have never felt anything that sinister, that evil before. I hadn't even touched the guy, but whatever he was emanating had clung onto my every pore, melting into my skin, my flesh. His stench was strong. It wasn't the usual mix of bitterness and assholery. His was a sickly sweet, heavenly perfumed yet unmistakable venomous scent. I bit my lip to keep from gasping. I didn't want to attract any more attention from the guy than I already had. I snuck a look back and nearly shrieked. He was staring straight at me, his lips peeled back, teeth bared. A nightmare rendition of a smile. I turned away and hurried down the street to the train station. Him and his brother have a really interesting situation going on here where he can feel other people's energy on him, and his brother can see that energy on him. And then he has some kind of way of cleansing it to be able to feel better again. It almost seems like an over-ended OCD situation, which is what his parents thought were happening, and the doctors apparently. And they thought his brother was insane. Let's dig back in. On the train, I closed my eyes and frantically pictured the flow of light above me. But this time, no matter how hard I concentrated, how bright I made the light, the stink wouldn't leave, the stain on my every pore wouldn't dissipate. I was nauseated. I felt like I had ingested a tube of gooey, viscous evil. Someone gave up their seat for me, and I realized I was breaking out in dribbles of cold sweat. I must have looked really ill. I thanked them and sat down. I meditated hard on that train ride. I went to work, sat through meetings, sang happy birthday with the team, gave the boss my present, and still, the terrible bile of that person was wrapped tight around me. Zoe asked if I was okay at some point. I told her I was coming down with the flu. They made me go home early. My brother wasn't home when I stumbled in. I took a long, hot shower, scrubbed until my skin was raw. The stains stayed. They have morphed into a dark reddish color, like birthmarks littered all over my body. Tainted, contaminated. I couldn't rid my skin of the molecules of evil. Who the fuck was that guy? How fucked up was he to produce such a terrible energy? I unlocked the cupboard of crystals. In all my admittedly short life so far, I had never needed these crystals more than a handful of times, and most of those were when I was younger and hadn't developed a strong ability to rely on mental rituals to cleanse myself. But never had any aura been this bad. I surrounded myself with the crystals, played music of certain frequency, and meditated. I was still meditating when my brother came home. "Oh shit," were his first words when he saw me. Was that fear etched on his face? He sat opposite of me, clearing a space among the crystals. He trailed off, staring at me with horrified fascination. Oh shit, that's some crazy evil vibes. Shit, it's all over you. Did you hug this dude or what? No, I didn't touch him. Just walked by him. He sucked in a breath. Shit, fuck, wow. Stop it. I'm trying to cleanse myself. It's not working, he said. Shut up. Joe, that purplish shit is all over you. That's some demonic level shit. We need to sort this out. I know. I'm trying. Not like that. We need something stronger. Like what? He shrugged helplessly. Oh, real helpful. Shut up and leave me alone. I meditated. I could hear my brother pacing around the house, occasionally going to his computer and typing furiously. But he let me be, even took out some of his own protective amulets to place around me. I meditated for so long that I thought I would pass out. In fact, I think I did. I woke up the next day and found myself sprawled on the floor, covered by a blanket. I felt sick. I ran to the toilet and heaved. Bile came out with yesterday's birthday cake and lunch. Didn't even get to eat dinner. I flushed and stood up. I almost fell back down. Everything was woozy. The reddish bruises had darkened and spread. I called off work before I saw my brother's message. Looking for what we can do. We'll sort this out. It didn't make me feel any better. By midday, I went to the doctor. I was getting a high fever. The doctors didn't know what was wrong. They couldn't see the stains all over me. But they could see I was in a bad way. They concluded that I had overworked myself and was suffering from some sort of exhaustion issue. Maybe also coming down with something. They sent me home with medication, told me to check back if I didn't get better in a few days. The medication didn't help. A few days in, all I felt was wretched. I was weak, barely able to move. My brother kept trying to find ways to help. He got people with incredible energy to come over, hang out. Their energy didn't help. Zoe visited. Her bright, bubbly aura did nothing for me as well. My brother called over an exorcist, an energy master, a self-proclaimed good witch, but nothing helped. A medium came over and took a look at me, crossed herself, and told me I needed someone more powerful. She gave us a contact. The moment the supposedly more powerful medium came in, I knew something was wrong. Her face was pale, and there was a shell-shocked look on her face. Outside, she uttered with a preamble. Sorry, what? My brother asked. I was too weak to speak. Man with horrible aura, demon, outside. What? The woman placed a hand on the wall for support. Hold up, I'll get you some water. When the woman settled on the couch and downed a cold glass of water, she was finally able to string a full sentence together. There's a man lurking outside your apartment building. His energy, it's horrible. I don't think he's even human, she said, her voice tapering into a whisper. Huh? Was he in a suit, dark gray, rather old-fashioned looking? Her eyes widened. So it was him you ran into? Yes, I said, and had to stop to take a breath. Oh dear, I'm sorry. He's a dark, powerfully dark force. I don't know if I can help. Hey, you've got to help. Look at her, my brother said, pointing at me. She's half dead. Speak for yourself, I mangled. I could do a cleansing ritual. My most powerful one. All of the most powerful ones. I just hope that's enough. Is that fucker still outside? My brother asked, rolling up his sleeves. Don't, the medium said firmly. Trust me, young man. You're more sensitive than I am, Lee. Don't go out there, I added for good measure. Lee rolled his sleeves back down. Fine, but do the rituals. What do you need? I have everything I need here, the medium said, pointing to her bag. I just need your help with setting up. 3 rituals later, I thought I felt better. I wasn't sure if it was a placebo effect or if it really worked, but I had a mite more energy and a cold sweat stopped. The stains stopped growing, stopped deepening in intensity. We paid the medium and I tried to tip her, but she refused our tip. You have enough to deal with, was her response. My brother walked her to the apartment lobby. She felt unsafe leaving alone, with that strange man possibly lurking outside. She made him promise he wouldn't leave the building, wouldn't confront the man, and he grudgingly agreed. When my brother came back, I knew he hadn't kept his word. He was paler than I was. Are you okay? You went out, didn't you? He didn't react. He looked like a zombie that had been run over and sewn together twice. The life seemed to have been leached out of him. He was dark in areas. Gray mush dripped off his skin, gray mush that reeked of sickly, cloying scent. Gray mush that I knew not everyone could see. Gray mush I knew would slowly turn red. Oh God, don't tell me you confronted him. You didn't, did you? He ignored all my questions, went straight to his room, and locked the door. I knocked for a while, calling out to him. I was frantic, but I was still really weak. When I had sapped all my energy trying to get him to open the door, I gave up and went to bed. Hopefully, he would be better the next day, and able to tell me what happened. When I woke up the next day, I felt significantly better. The stains seemed to have receded a little. Or maybe it was wishful thinking. At least, I felt like I could breathe right. Despite that, I knew something was wrong. Lee hadn't woke me up with his fussing. He's a lazy brother, but when I am unwell, he is quite the caretaker and fusser. Lee? I went to his room. The door was locked still. Lee? I called again. I banged on the door, rattled the knob. Lee, wake up, or I'm calling the ambulance, or police. I yelled for a long time, but there was complete silence on the other end. Then I smelled it. A gruesomely saccharine, nauseating odor was coming from the door. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and crept to the door. I didn't want whoever was there to know I was at the door. I feared that they would shoot through the door or something crazy like that. Holding my breath, I silently slid the keyhole cover up. Still holding my breath, I leant forward and carefully placed my eye at the keyhole. It was all dark outside, even though it was daytime and my corridor was usually lit. I stared into the darkness, trying to make out where the person could be. I could smell him, the same overwhelming perfumed sickness. I looked at the gap beneath my door. Light was streaming in from outside, and I could see a pair of feet. I stared back into the keyhole at the blackness outside. It hit me then, and I stumbled back with a shriek. He was looking into the keyhole from the outside. Fuck, fuckity, fuck nuts, I swore, scurrying far from the door, still clutching my knife. Get away from here. I'm calling the police, I yelled. Don't you want to save your brother? Came the voice outside. He spoke in a sing-song tone of voice, which grated at my already taut nerves. What the fuck did you do to him? Nothing, he did it to himself. What the fuck did you do? I yelled again, voice breaking a little. He's an interesting one. He sees so clearly. Such fine, delicate senses. You, I could tell, were sensitive. That you knew, but him? He's a real talent. I didn't bother to repeat my question. I headed to the kitchen to grab another knife. I would throw one right at him, stab him with the other, if he dare try to break in. When I came to the senses and picked up my phone instead, I dialed. Before the police operator could respond, my phone went dead. Now, if you call the police, I won't be able to help your brother. Let me in and I'll help him. I don't want a talent like him to die. I wouldn't hurt you either. Why? I enjoy when people can tell what I am. And what the fuck are you? You can't tell? See into my mind, girl. I know you can. Come on, try harder. Tears were flowing by this point. I wiped them roughly with my arm, then dropped my phone to pick up the knives. Knives won't do much to hurt me, came the voice. Fuck, he could see me, somehow. Won't stop me from trying, I yelled. It won't hurt me. Look into your mind, you'll see. Despite my better judgment, I gave in to the sadistic curiosity that was eating away at me. I stared at the doorway and pictured the man. I let myself take a full breath of his stench. The same darkness swarmed about me, the stomach churning evil. It was turning my insides out. I was covered in the goop of that clinging evil, just from being a few meters away from him. Images flashed into my mind. He was tearing a woman apart, gripped her by the shoulder with one hand, the arm on the other side with his other hand. He tugged, a quick, confident jerk, and she flew apart, split diagonally in two. Viscera and blood erupted from within, covering his smiling face. Someone attacked him from behind. A knife thudded into him. He smiled wider and pulled out the knife. He flung it back at the man who had thrown it, and it sank fully to the hilt into the man's forehead. The man fell over. I gagged, retched. You sick fuck! Just doing my dailies, no biggie. Now, will you open this door or not? No, fuck off. Sure, say goodbye to your brother, alright? He half sang the words like he was singing a goodbye song. The stench eased. He must have left. I ran to my brother's room and rattled the handle. This time it opened. What the fuck? I rushed in and saw an unmoving lump under the covers. Dread thickened in my veins. I lifted the blanket. Lee was gray and red all over. He had soaked the sheets with his perspiration. He looked lifeless. I checked for a breath. I couldn't be sure if there was one. I checked his pulse. There it was. A faint, barely there beat. I rushed to his phone. Thank God it was working. I didn't bother to unlock it, just dialed for an ambulance. The doctors at the hospital didn't have much to say. They didn't know what was wrong. They were running all the tests, and they hoped they'd find something soon. Lee had slipped into a coma. Fuck. I stayed in the hospital for the night, begging Lee to wake up. I rushed home to get the ingredients the medium had left us and carried out the rituals that the medium had taught us. The doctors were reluctant, but I quoted religious and spiritual practices, and they had to let me do it. I did the ritual all through the night. I couldn't get through to the medium. Nothing changed. The red stains merely burned darker on his skin. Kept trying anyway. In the morning, I went home to pack his clothes and necessities. The fucking stench was there again. It hit me when I neared the door. Every sense tingling, I crept closer to the door, then stopped and did the non-stupid thing. I called the cops. This time, the phone worked, and the cops arrived quickly. They searched, but no one was there. They couldn't smell anything, none of the stench. They looked at me like I was crazy, but when I mentioned the man waiting outside my apartment and loitering around the building before, they paid more attention. They took notes, details, and promised to look into it. No surveillance? No protective detail? I asked. No, not for something that's not concrete. Sorry, limited manpower. I kind of expected that answer, but I couldn't resist the scoff. Once the police had left, I saw it. I didn't know how no one spotted it before when the police were here. A note on the ground before the door. How had we missed it? Did it just get slid in? With a trembling hand, I picked it up. Poor Lee, dying because his sister wouldn't open the door. Don't worry, I'll come again soon. Open the door, let's make a deal. The hospital called right after I read the note. Lee was in critical condition. They were trying to save his life in intensive care. It was all touch and go, they said. I felt the life drain out of me. I began to shake, cold sweat beating up once again. Lee's the only family I have left. I know that man can't be up to anything good. He can't possibly be sincere about helping. But he's the only shot I have. The only one who might be able to save Lee. It didn't take long for him to show up. That cloying, stinking scent. He's still at the door. I am doing what I can to postpone the inevitable, writing this, burning sage. But he keeps calling. I'm here, open the door. Don't you want to save Lee? My stains are spreading. I can feel myself fading. I think I might let him in. Awesome. That was good. Great short. Never disappointed by Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Very good work. Really cool idea with the entity of evil being the only thing that could help her brother. They're both being like drained emotionally and physically from the entity that apparently originally caused it all. So kind of like a heal yourself from the poison kind of situation. If you guys can do me a favor, please subscribe and like the video. It helps me make new ones. It helps me continue on this journey. I appreciate every single one of you and every single minute that you watch these videos. It means so much. I appreciate you. I am the Midgrid Masochist. Farewell.